Hello everyone, my name is Ángela. I am a teacher and researcher at the University of León in Spain, and I'm here to talk about how to promote intercultural understanding through short fiction in English as a foreign language contexts. So literary texts often present many challenges because they are complex. They touch on very abstract ideas sometimes, and they make references which are familiar to one specific culture, and sometimes literary texts may not align with the functional language needs of learners, and well, students often struggle to understand them because of these references, these historical and sociocultural references that are being made in texts. But that does not mean they shouldn't be used in foreign language classrooms because they provide a valuable resource both for students and for teachers. And they offer lots of benefits. They provide authentic learning environments, contexts. They also expose students to lots of different vocabulary and language styles. They stimulate their imagination, and they foster critical thinking. And the use of authentic literary texts support the communicative and intercultural approaches to English as a foreign language. The communicative language teaching, which started with Hyams and then continued with Canal and Swain, focused on the capacity of learners to use the language effectively and appropriately in authentic communicative situations. It prioritizes meaning over formal accuracy, and proponents of this approach view language as a social instrument which is used to interact with other people, and that's why learners are encouraged to use the language for a variety of purposes. The ultimate objective, according to this model, is to use the language productively and receptively. On the other side, we've got the intercultural communicative competence, and the model proposed by Byram focuses on intercultural speakers rather than aiming for the unrealistic goal of achieving native speaker proficiency, which was more common before this framework came out. And it focuses on 5 savoirs or components, which are, well, attitudes, knowledge, skills of interpreting and relating, skills of discovery and interaction, and critical cultural awareness. And these 5 elements help learners to effectively navigate different cultural contexts by focusing on intercultural understanding and communication rather than perfection. This model and this approach, the intercultural communicative approach, is particularly relevant in the European higher education area, given the status of English as the global lingua franca. The use of literature in the foreign language classroom is proposed by the Council of Europe's common European framework of references for the learning and teaching of languages. They propose the use of literature for the achievement of language learning goals and for social cultural learning, and also for aesthetic enjoyment. There are a few approaches which can be used to integrate literature in the classroom. We've got the integrated approach, for example, which combines the use of literature with other subject areas, skills, or techniques, and it enables students to make connections and transfer knowledge among disciplines. We also have other models like Carter and Long's models of integration, the language model, which reflects and discusses specific linguistic features. We also have the cultural model, which focuses on the exploration and interpretation of historical and social-cultural contexts of the text. And the personal growth model, which supports students in relating the experiences of the characters to their own experiences. Multicultural stories, like the ones proposed in this presentation, can foster vicarious learning as students learn from the stories and they identify themselves with the characters. And it's very important to select the appropriate stories and to exploit the materials that we choose effectively. It's also vital to choose stories and texts that are suitable to our students' interests, their characteristics, and their language level, of course. And I'd like to move on to the design and objectives of the educational intervention. So for this intervention, I chose 3 short stories, which were selected from authors of African, Japanese, and Amerindian descent. And they all offer alternative perspectives that enrich students' understanding of global issues, and they focus on cultural concepts that students should be aware of, especially language students. And the study guides were designed for learners at B1, B2 levels, and as you can see here, 3 different study guides were created, one for each of the selected stories. So What Are You Anyway by Lawrence Hill, Indian Education by Sherman and Lexi, and Wilshire Bass by Hisai Yamamoto. In the study, we had 27 students participating, and these students were aged 16 to 19, and they were studying at a Spanish public school, and their language levels ranged from A2 to B2. And we allocated 3 sessions to explore with the first story, So What Are You Anyway, and to go through the respective study guide. For the data collection and analysis, we used a 3-point Likert scale questionnaire with 1 open question regarding overall satisfaction with the short story and the use of the study guide. The questionnaire was administered in paper format, and it was completed by students at the conclusion of the final session, the 3rd session. And we used mainly descriptive statistical analysis, measures of central tendency. And the most representative results are here on the screen. So as you can see, more than 64% of participants agreed that they would enjoy learning English through the use of short stories. More than 66% of participants would like to learn about the diversity of ethnicities and lifestyles through literature. And more than 71% of the students agreed that they would enjoy sessions more if they had a clear purpose of communication as opposed to learning from a textbook, which is what they were doing before presenting this activity to them. And 84% of students agreed that English can be learned through authentic materials instead of adaptations, because the study guides and the short stories were not adapted or abridged. And here we have a few student quotes which were illustrative of this result. So one of the students says, the sessions were more dynamic and interactive with the debates, the short story and information about an important subject matter. Another student says, I think we need different activities, something in teams and with a purpose, not only studying the textbook and taking exams, something more creative like this. And finally, another student said, I liked doing fun things and not only things from the textbook, and also speaking the language more. Just as a final conclusion and some pedagogical implications for practitioners, we can see with this study that literature can potentially increase motivation and interest in exploring real-world social issues. It can expose students to a wide range of dialects, social necks, and stylistic choices, as illustrated by the use of study guides. It also provides opportunities for foreign language learners to engage with diverse social, cultural, and emotional realities with which they can feel identified and learn. And short stories in particular have the perfect length for an academic term and are easier to handle in complexity than other literary texts like novels, for example. And if we complement them with pedagogical reading support like study guides, we are maximizing the benefits of these literary texts. We should also mentor and scaffold students' learning to help them to construct and engage with the text actively. This is the activity principle. And we have to foster the development of active democratic citizenship with themes that go beyond the typical that students' interests focus on, for example, with themes of multiculturalism or human rights, because as results show, students are actually interested in learning through literature and through authentic materials. Thank you very much for your attention.